This guy's got a seriously profitable business. It's literally making hundreds of thousands of pounds every single year, but the banks don't want to lend to him, so he's got to do all this alternative finance. He's just taken a £600,000 loan to go and buy metal floors and metal doors. Are you intrigued by this conversation? My guest today is Dean, and he's got a big self-storage business that he started from scratch that's worth a lot of money. Take a listen. Hello campers, welcome back to the business broadcast. We're back again. We're doing more episodes than ever before. We're visually on YouTube and we're audibly on all of the audio platforms and making our own words up. Yeah, I liked it. Visually and audibly. JB joins me again as
hi everybody,
as co-host on this podcast. We are helping more entrepreneurs and business owners than ever before. That's what we're really passionate about. My guest today, or our guest today, is Dean Booty.
He sounds like he should be either a PT or a stripper, but he's not.
Nope, he's not. He's from Hull, I think, or up north.
Or up that neck of the woods.
He's got an impressive business called Storemore Self-Storage. What do you think they do, JP?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell
you.
Website, if you want to have a little gander, is storemore.co.uk. And
you're being generous today, aren't you?
Yeah.
Plugging away already in the first...
I think so.
You like this guy already, though, can't you?
I do. I like his accent. I do like. I like being around Northerners. Chuds, who makes all my content, is a Northerner, so I spend a lot of time with him. I don't actually think he's a proper Northern. He's
an Essex Northerner now, isn't he? Yeah.
South Northerner. But this is an impressive business, and I like talking to people like this. And the reason I'm giving the website as out, because if it intrigues people that are listening and they want to check him out, because he only does self-storage, I think, in the north of the country. So if you live in Essex, where I live, it's not convenient, but you might want to go and check out the impressive business. He said he's been going 12 years. He's doing about £150,000 a month. What's really interesting, he's like making $1 million of EBIT, which is earnings before interest and taxation, and maybe depreciation. I don't know if he's missed out the DAR in the EBITDA. Sometimes speaking EBIT, sometimes speaking EBITDA.
Is it the same thing though?
No.
Oh, fine.
Because EBIT is earnings before interest and tax, and EBITDA is earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation and amortization. And you could be depreciating and amortizing £1 million a year. What is depreciation and amortization, JB? In case our listeners don't know,
amortization is It's where people go when they go and feed animals, isn't it? And you've got them at your farm park. That's why you got your Jeremy Clarkson jacket on today.
Yeah, that's
the amortization.
No, the amortization. So if you bought a business and it had, if you was trading a business and you bought a theme park ride, that's the best way of explaining it, and you depreciate a theme park ride over 10 years, that depreciation means that you have had to generate the cash to pay out the depreciation. If you bought a business and you bought a brand for £5 million, you might amortize that brand over a period of time.
Is everyone at home keeping up with this?
Well, it's very simple. Do you not keep up with it?
No, I get it.
Yeah,
but I'm a guy who called it amortization.
Amortization.
So we're laughing and learning today.
So I like to think of depreciation as, assets, fixed assets, vans, trucks, equipment, if you like.
So he wouldn't have any depreciating assets at the moment,
well, he would, because he's got his, I'm guessing, lots of shipping containers.
He doesn't own anything, though, does he? He hasn't got freeholds, he was saying to us before.
You wouldn't depreciate freehold because that's an asset that goes up in value.
Guys, if you are enjoying this as much as I am, there's a guy on YouTube that I'm going to shout him out, Phil Royal, that said that that other James adds nothing to it. He's clearly, what did he call me? Bert the buffoon or something like that.
Bert the Burke.
And I wanted to prove him so badly wrong, but it's not been a good start so far, has it?
So if he owns, I'm guessing, 1,000 shipping containers to have all this stuff, I would imagine, I don't know, you would probably depreciate them in the accounts, but then you could argue that some of them go up in value. But let's say that anomaly was out the picture, that equipment, you buy a shipping container today for $3,000, and then you would zero it in your accounts over 10 years, I would say.
And who decides how long the period is that you zero that? The accountant?
The directors of the business and the accountant usually have a 5 or 10 year rule. It's usually the life of the asset. So if you buy a Mac, how many years is your Mac going to last?
25.
You're a liar.
25.
But say you would say
over 5 years, it would go down.
You would zero it down into, and if there is some anomalies like a shipping container, you've zeroed it in value over that 10-year period, you might then readjust its valuation. See, there is some, like a carousel, for example. If you buy a carousel and you buy it for 100 grand and you depreciate it over 10 years, there's an argument that it might still be worth quite a bit of money at the end.
So
of
who
10
would have
years.
that sort of bun fight with you about it? Would it be the taxman who goes, no, that
You just do
carousel's
it. You just-
gone up in value because it's an antique now?
Yeah, for example, those anomalies there.
So could you have sort of allowed for it within your accounts, and then in that example there, you've sort of knocked 10 grand off your taxable sort of profits, and then at the end of 10 years, I go, yeah, but that's still worth 100 grand.
You still pay corporation tax on depreciation.
If anything, this podcast has told me I should go and get a day job. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's just easier, isn't it?
You do, Pete. You do. I mean, there is. I don't want to give tax advice, but there is. You can't just go and buy loads of stuff to get your tax bill down to zero. That is also
really?
there.
Have a chat with my accountant.
My. I don't want to get into tax here because I don't, unless I'm absolutely accurate. I don't like talking about it. But my experience of tax is you're just delaying it. Eventually, you'll be paying it. There's
Kick the can as far down the road as you can.
Yeah, I mean, you look at there is always that. It's just you're just delaying it at some point.
Delaying the inevitable, and it is inevitable.
I mean, even if you look at, you sell a business and you've got asset business disposal relief, or what was formerly known as entrepreneurs relief, then you've got a big chunk of change that you've paid a reduced capital gains on. But then when you die, your family will pay the proper tax as they get the money. So it's just whatever happens.
There's only two guarantees in life: death and taxes. That's what they say, don't they? My dad used to say it. He was an accountant, ironically, so he was probably right.
What did he teach you? Clearly nothing.
Nothing. He done the accounts for me.
Yeah.
He was like, I will always be here to do your accounts, and he lied to me. And then I was like, oh, what do I do now?
Oh,
so
do you miss him?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. I still think about him every other day. I would say 12 years later, 13 years later. It's just taking a turn, isn't it?
That's life. Well,
that is life.
Let's talk about Dean and his boutique.
Yeah,
Sorry, Dean Boutique.
We've got all around the houses to get back here. Should we talk about his challenges?
Yeah.
Go on, you like that new format. You tell me,
Yeah.
you ask if he's got a challenge, and I'll tell you what his challenge is.
Does he have any staff?
He has got staff, actually. He's got 4.
I wonder what they all do.
And that I can't tell you because I've not got it
we
on
need
my
to
screen.
ask that, don't
yeah,
we?
we do.
Because why do you need that many?
He's got 5 sites, hasn't he?
Oh, right. So they're probably just securing it and checking it. Yeah.
At least one per site.
Someone's lost a key.
Yeah.
They're sorted that. So right.
Exactly.
And do you know what? This is very profitable, this sector. I've looked into it and considered doing self-storage myself because we got some land.
Yeah, you were going to do it in one of the industrial sites, weren't you?
Yeah.
Why did you not go down that route in the end then?
Well, I still might.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, just always.
They're doing it around the corner around here, aren't they?
Yeah. There is some money into it. What I would like to know, which would make it very attractive, is seen as an investment or a trade, and I think it falls into the camp of trade, which is a very good sort of wealth loophole that I've discovered. Shall I
it's classed
explain?
as a trade rather than an investment.
So if you're building a business, so say buy-to-let property is classed as an investment,
Right.
which is therefore highly taxed because the governments don't like it.
Yeah.
But if you take a buy-to-let property and turn it into a holiday cottage that you let out, that's classed as a trade.
Right.
Which comes with all the tax benefits. Benefits. That's the word I'm looking for. For example, you can claim all your interest back off your tax return if it's a trade.
Yeah.
You can't when it's a buy-to-let property investment. So
in this instance,
if it hopscotches into a trade, then it's good for inheritance tax, it's good for capital gains tax, it's good for a number of.
And would you have to structure it in a certain way for it to be a trade rather than an investment?
Well, I think it is a trade because it's employing people, which is a clear differentiator, I think, between investment and trade.
But if you've got lots of buy-to-lets, you might have like a property manager. Does that then shift over if you're doing it as a trading company?
Maybe, but then we're now wearing into tax advice. I would
Again,
say
nothing on this podcast is tax advice. It's purely entertainment purposes only.
I would say that would still be classed as an investment because otherwise everyone would do that, wouldn't they? They would just say, "Yeah, my wife is full-time looking after 2 buy-to-lets."
That's true. You might have found a loophole there. You might be the next Jimmy
I don't
Carr.
think. I think that is. I'm sure we'll have some accountants hit it in the comments and stuff, but. There is basically, I've always said on the podcast, if you can make your business have property around it as an investment, but it's in a trade, in my experience, that is such a better model.
Yeah. So in your instance with the industrial park, at the moment it's just flat land, and you could either build on it. So as soon as you build on it and put people in it, then it becomes a trade.
It's an investment. No. It's an investment, but it's commercial property investment, which is so much better than residential property investment.
Okay.
But if he's got employees and it's seen as self-storage, he's not just renting a building out to one person to store stuff in it. That would be, to me, classed as an investment.
Oh, that would be an investment.
Yeah,
okay.
But if he's got one building and he's got 100 people and he's got to do a big yellow self-storage,
right,
that to me would probably be a trade.
But what about if he buys a freehold and then the asset value goes up? That part of it's the investment?
No, because that will be
part of the trading business.
Yeah, correct. So if you've got an MOT station and you own the property that the MOT station operates out of, that's a trade. If you own the property that the MOT trade station trades out of and you're not the tenant,
the MOT, right.
you're
so
renting it to someone
else.
You don't know, that's an investment. But if you own both and you do both, that can be seen as a trade.
Wow. We've gone in, haven't we, on this episode already?
But this is if anyone's listening to this, property and trade combined, beautiful. I always like telling this little story. I went to buy a go-kart track once. I think I probably said this on the other episode. Yeah. And they sold it, I think, for £1.5 million in the end. And they only paid 10% tax on that.
Really?
Because they had the trade and the building in the same company. So they didn't have a propco-opco in the same company. And by accident, they stumbled across a very tax-efficient thing to do.
So why would you not then buy stuff where you could do that in?
Well, the reason people don't do it now is for protection, because you have I'm sure if you can have an opco, propco, and you can probably get pre-approval from HMRC. You write to them and say, look, I've got a property here, I've got an operation company here, owned by the same holding company, but set up separately. In fact, Roller City is set up like that, because there's common ownership, and you've just structured it so you've got an opco, propco. That would still be classed as a trade for taxation purposes if you sell the business.
Oh.
But get rid of the trade and you're not operating the trade anymore, that's
then
an investment.
So, for example, in Roller City, if you said, right, well, we're not going to be the operator of that as well.
Yeah, if I sold the business and kept the property, which a lot of people do, that's
an investment.
Yeah. Look at this. It's only taken 45 minutes, and
it's good. I'm getting it.
He's
an
ACA
guys.
qualified accountant. now.
Yeah. Feel free to hit us up on Insta if you want any more tax advice from me. We'll probably both go into jail if you take that advice, but we'll have a bloody good time while
Maybe what you'll have to do is you're going to have to find Mystic Meg and try and connect to your dad to get the advice.
Yeah, I need to get the advice.
So let's talk about some challenges. What's his big challenges?
Challenge number one, cash flow. And he said this in the pre-recording chat. Always cash flow, he reiterates, is a cash flow. It's a cash-intensive business, i.e. Mansfield, which our new site, cost over 7 figures to set up. So it's quite cash-intensive.
I've just had an amazing idea for him. I wonder if he's using capital allowances here, which again, I mean, we're dangerously talking about tax, which I don't like doing, but
none of this investment advice. Don't worry, I've got your back.
None of this is investment advice.
Please seek own medical support if you need it.
Capital allowances is definitely something he should be talking about, and he should be getting, if he's buying all of that stuff, he should be getting some of Rishi's super tax deduction back soon as well.
Let's double check he is then. Yeah. Challenge 2, finding a bank to support me with my expansion journey. To be fair, I haven't reached out in a couple of years. Any contacts you have would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a challenge and an asking one. I like that.
I think we can do that.
And challenge number 3, his next hire. Do I hire a CFO, a COO, or a marketing manager? My SEO and PPC management is 56,000 quid a year.
Can't answer that without asking him more questions.
Should we ask him more questions then?
Well, I think we should go. Where does he want to be in 1 year's time?
Well, in 1 year, he wants to. We have 5 self-storage sites open, a 6th about to complete by the end of 2024. I would want to have 10 sites. So he's looking to double in a year. Good on him. He's pushing.
Do we think this bloke's ambitious? I'm going to ask you my next question. What does the business look like when it's finished?
£100 million exit. Stop laughing. Emoji cry face. He's going for it. I love what I do, and I don't really ever want to stop. But like you say, if it's built to sell, I will. If it's not built to sell, then I will fall out of love with it. I have a daily newsletter document. A daily newsletter. He's banging the content out. A daily newsletter documenting my self-storage journey to a 9-figure exit. MrSelfStorage.com. Oh, I love this fella.
Be careful with that, mate.
I also have the world's longest standing self-storage podcast talking all things self-storage. This is fantastic.
I've come across this guy before. He must have come to some of my events. I've spoken to him, yeah.
Do you make the profit you want to make, though? Here's the thing. If so, what is it? Nope. Don't think I ever will. I do okay, but every penny is reinvested back into the company for expansion. I have zero pension as well. I have charges over my house. The wife is not happy in brackets. And I've got PGs, personal guarantees, all over the place. So I'm all in with self-storage. Let's hope you don't listen to this. It's not going to help your case, Dean.
What does he think about the business? What does he do day to day with his time in the business?
Day to day, looks at daily reports, creates content, then listens or watches to courses, podcasts, books. Spent nearly 6 figures this year on masterminds, consultancies and courses. ... If you still consulted, James, I'd be the first in line. Lol, but probably not joking. I think it's my job to educate myself so I can educate the team. So that's where he's at.
I only consult for one person.
Me.
It's a YouTuber.
Me.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah, 2.
One of them pays me.
Yeah. One of them gives you something. One of them is a drain to you. Sorry about that. Should we get him on then?
Yeah, let's get him on.
Dean Booty, welcome to the Business Broadcast. How are you, sir?
I could listen to you guys all day. I just think you're absolutely brilliant together. It is. I just loved it. I love that 15 minutes then.
Yeah, no, that's well. I enjoy those chats as well because it's just nice educating someone that doesn't know nothing.
It's nice to give back, isn't it? Yeah. It's nice to give back and it's nice to take.
His dad's looking down on him right now.
Yeah, just going, thank God he's got one useful mate because this kid's an idiot.
Well, look, there we go. Look, Dean, pleasure to have you on the show. I think in your own words, can you just give us 30 seconds? What is your business? What it's up to? Go.
Yeah, so we provide self-storage solutions for businesses and personal belongings. We've got 5 locations. We've got 4 indoor and we've got 1 outdoor. The 1 outdoor is a container site. I have a podcast and daily newsletter like you've mentioned, and I just give everything away, all my figures. I document my journey and try to help other people who want to start the self-storage journey as well.
Wow. Why do you do that? Just because you have a bit of passion project about it?
Yeah, to be honest, I get asked this question all the time because it's almost correct. I mean, for example, in Beverley, I document how much we're making, and my landlord actually tried to kick me out to start his own self-storage. As it happens, it was inside the act, so he couldn't do it, but he set up just down the road from me because I document it all. And I don't know, if I'm honest, James, I kind of think it's a little bit of ego as well, but I wanted to put out as much content as possible. It's given me a good life and a good standard of living, and if I can help other people do that, I just feel quite nice about it. But also, I wish my dad had documented his journey when he was going through his business, and so I do it for my kids as well. I think my kids hopefully will want to listen one day.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's one of the reasons I do it. I always think if I'm gone, there should be a wealth of knowledge for Harvey and Darcy to dive into. I think it's a really powerful point. I think about that a lot myself. Just going back to do you monetize the content or just do it? Does it ever get you any leads? Does it do anything for you?
Yeah, it certainly helps me. So for example, I've had a paid trip to Vegas to speak at Vegas at a conference for the World Self Storage Conference. This year I'm starting to monetize it. I've got 2 podcast sponsorships now, so that'll make me around about £40,000 a year. But also, I'm gonna start consulting in some shape or form because I get asked all the time to help consult, and so I don't know what to do. I don't know what that looks like because I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I also enjoy helping other people. But I don't want to take away from the main business of finding sites.
So how much did the World Self-Storage Conference, if that's actually a thing, what hotel was it in Las Vegas? How good was it?
So I've been there. I've been there a couple of times. We're going back, and we're going back there in March, and do you know what? I was that nervous that I couldn't, as soon as he asked me, I couldn't enjoy the build up to the conference at all for the first 2 months. And mum, dad, my kids went, my wife went, and I had to have 2 beers at 9 o'clock in the morning to get on stage. It was absolutely horrendous. But once I was on stage, I loved it.
Oh, well done. So what hotel was it in Las Vegas?
It was in the Paris Hotel.
Oh, wow. So proper on the strip.
Oh yeah. It's proper on the strip. Yeah. We're going again. I was asked to speak this time, but I turned it down this time because I just want to go and enjoy it this time. And yeah, it's proper on the strip. There's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who go to it.
Wow. And
You should have done that speaking gig.
Yeah, you should have.
You should have done that speaking. That's a missed opportunity. I think that to be asked to do it and then not do it. I understand going and enjoying it, but you're there to like the content. If you, especially you're a content maker anyway, so you're clearly not backwards and coming forwards. Phone him back up, Dean, and say you want to do it. You've doubled your price.
Yeah. I got asked to do the round tables as well this year because there's round tables that you've got to do, and this year it's in Caesar's Palace. And you're probably right. I probably should have done it, but
you could have spoken at Caesar's Palace.
It's you, Elvis, Bublé, like all the big content hitters. Rod's been there. Adele. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
But I'm meeting loads of people, and we're going to do loads of podcast interviews over there. And because I don't often get to speak to the American operators, and America's a lot further ahead on self-storage than we are in the UK. So the amount of square foot in America depends on what state you're in. It's between 6 and 9 square foot per person. In the UK, it's only 0.78 at the minute. So there's massive growth in the UK.
Can I just ask as well? So, and did they pay you well and pay all your flights and hotel and everything?
Yeah, they paid the flights just for me, and it was just not really $500.
Oh right, well,
still worth it though. Isn't
still
it?
worth it. But it's the positioning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we come back to this business. Let's talk about cash flow. So, if you've been going 12 years. And you're paying corporation tax every year, why is not a bank helping you? I don't understand.
I've fallen out of love with banking. So I was with Yorkshire Bank, first of all. And when we first set up the big location, so we've got a 30,000 square foot building in Willoughby that was set up 7 years ago. And we had to do it in phases. And when you first start, we had the rent, the rates, the staffing, and when you open, you've got nobody coming in at all to the self-storage facility. So you've got all the running costs and you've got no revenue. But over time, you gain customers. And so we did it in phases. Phase 1, I could only take 150,000, and so the bank said, "Yep, don't worry, we'll lend you the money." Lent us. It was around about £150,000 that they lent us to get set up with a mezzanine floor, etc. And they said, "Look, if you do the first, if you do hit your numbers, obviously come back to us for phase 2, etc." Brilliant. Okay, I hit my numbers within 6 months, and it was a 2-year projection that I give. And I went back to the bank, and the bank said, "Oh no, we need a 2 to 3 year period of consolidation." And I was like, I can't have consolidation, because if I have consolidation, then I aren't even covering the rent and the rates from phase 1. So I need to do it. And then it went to Virgin Bank. And if I'm honest, James, I don't even have a bank manager now. I have no contact at the bank. And last time I went for funding, for loans, they made me jump through so many hoops that now I just go down the asset finance route. And the asset finance is dead simple to do, but the only problem is then the cash flow for the building, like Mansfield. Yeah, exactly. We've just opened Mansfield. The rent is £120,000 a year. The rates are £60,000 a year. It's cost us £600,000 at the minute to do phase 1. But then the problem is that I can get the asset finance for the asset for the 600,000, because that's indoor self-storage, all the metals, etc., the mezzanine flooring. But what I can't do, that nobody will lend me money for the shortfall between when you first open up, with the rent, the rates, the electric, the staffing, and so I've just got to cover that myself. That's the major issue. I have been approached by 4 VC firms and one because I think Dan Bradbury. I work with Dan Bradbury one-on-one, and he put me in touch with a billionaire investor. He was going to invest in the company. Went down for a meeting with him, and he was going to give me £10 million he was going to buy 49% of the company. I was still going to operate it. He was going to give me £10 million to open 10 sites within the first 2 years, and then we was going to open another 10 sites. And in the end, I pulled out last minute because I wanted to do it on my own, and I've got a great lifestyle where I can I take the kids to school every morning. I'm here when they come back, and I take the kids' holidays off. But if I had a partner, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. My lifestyle had changed. I'd have to answer to somebody, and so there was a way that I could get funding, but I didn't want to kind of sell part of my business to do that. So yeah, at the minute I'm just trying to bootstrap it best I can.
Oh, well, by the way, I agree. I don't think you need to bring in an investor just yet. I would be building the business up a little bit more, and selling a majority and having a minority maybe in 5 years' time. I'll come back to that in a minute. I think you should stay bootstrapped for a little bit longer and be a bit harder for a little bit longer, because it does educate us to be such better entrepreneurs and business owners. Just to raise that money, was he just coming around having a look, meeting you, or did you have to prepare any documents to present to him on what the business could look like?
Do you know what? I did a podcast on this because I've never ever met a billionaire before, and I went to his house and I prepared all my numbers. I'm really good at my numbers, because if you're in Dan Bradbury's mastermind, you present all your numbers every single quarter, and so I'm pretty good with that. I asked Dan what he'd asked me, and honestly, he asked me the most basic questions. He already knew about the sector, wanted to get in self-storage, knew that.
Let me I'm going to stop you though, Dan. Did you? So we got the numbers, but did you do like an investor deck, like a 12-pager, like this is what so it was clear as mud, if you like, as what the business looks like in the future? Have you got that?
I had a one-pager, so I had everything on one page.
That's right.
He looked at it, and he made a decision within 10 minutes. I was like, it's just, the takeaway was how fast his mind worked. He was just so quick, and he made a decision within 10 minutes. And I was like, wow, that guy is incredible. Yeah, well,
that's what entrepreneurs do. He's obviously a very successful entrepreneur, But when you're going to raise money, I was just hoping that all of that work could be leveraged into when we go to banks. But we've got the numbers, and maybe just a little 4 or 5 pager document, like an investor deck, would be also useful. Let me just say, if we look at last year's full accounts that you would have filed at Companies House, what sort of profits did they show?
Around about 450,000. We have just changed accountants, and unfortunately we're going to have to refile the accounts again because of mistakes. And so it was somebody else in Dan Bradbury's mastermind who we used, but unfortunately I think the business just outgrew him and his knowledge, and so now I'm actually using Dan's accountant, who is a lot more expensive, but he said that he's got to go back and refile these accounts now.
So are they going to be reduced or increased, the profits?
They're actually going to be reduced. There's some small mistakes, like for example, Stripe. He wasn't putting down the charges that there's a charge of, I think it's 1.4% for every pound you take, and he wasn't putting down the charges, and little things like that.
Yeah. And can you not do all them adjustments in the next year, so you don't have to resubmit your accounts? But I'll tell you for why, banks don't like that when you do that.
Oh, really?
They do not like that.
Yeah.
Why? It's it.
Yeah.
I mean, are you doing it to reduce your tax bill? Is that why you're doing it?
No, not at all. The accountant just said that he has to refile the accounts because they're wrong, and so I just presumed that it was something that because he signed up and he's a chartered accountant that he has to do that. I didn't ask any questions.
Well, sometimes you do have to do that, but if you could just do it in the next year, again, going down tax advice here, which I don't want to do, but yeah, I mean, if you have to, you have to. But and then the year before that, did you make similar profits? Hello?
Yeah, it was around about £360,000 that year.
And the year before that?
220,000. So between
brilliant.
220 and 240.
No, that's good. Right. So we've got 3 years of 6-figure plus profits. What you need to do now is you need to go to a bank. Yeah. And maybe you need to go to 10. I will introduce you to someone, Nige, who is in the wings there. Can you hear us, Nige? Is he?
Yep.
Here he is. Nige is here. We're going to introduce you to someone that will get all those accounts together, and then they'll ship it to sort of 6 or 7 banks, your HSBCs, your NatWest, but also some challenger banks as well. And so, look, you know, we've been doing this 10, 12 years. Let's see if we can help. I would be probably trying to use.
Thank you.
I would probably trying to use banks to buy the freeholds out of what you operate out of, but then get an asset finance line with a cheaper funder, someone like a Lombard, which is owned by the NatWest Group, which would be much more competitive than probably who you using for that, like that 600k.
It's just coming out of my. So it's coming out of different asset finances, Arkle.
Yeah, so they're expensive. Arkle, all of that. I mean, I've used them in the past.
Hampshire.
Yeah, so Hampshire Trust Bank, like they're really expensive. So you want to get a broker to look at that to see if we can hammer down those APR rates, because you're probably paying 15% APR on some of that stuff, as low as 8% and up to 15%. Yeah. Well, you don't want to be doing that, do you? That's not fun.
It's expensive, man.
I said to my wife this morning, I said, you know what, Claire, this could be one of the most important conversations. James can help me consolidate all my debt and I can save £5,000 a month. I said,
well, you
don't worry, honey, we're fine.
Well, I think, I mean, the other things as well, I hope this accountant is looking at capital allowances for you. Have you had big checks back on capital allowances over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so do you mean like when you claim for the asset for 130% of the asset? So
that's Rishi's super tax. But do you own any of the properties that you operate out of?
No, I've tried to buy all of them, and not one of them will sell me them. And there's a place that we're looking at in Beverley at the minute, but it's up for sale for it's up for sale for 2 million. We came to an agreement for 1.75 million. The only problem is the bricks and mortar valuation is only 1.1. We got it valued, and the reason why it's up for £2 million is because it's got a lease attached to it with a car company who's they've got it now for until 2031, and so they're including that in the valuation. But
well, that does have a value, though.
Can't get funding on the back of a.
Well, it depends who they are. Is it someone like Ford?
My bank would only lend me up to one.
Yeah, I mean, you just haven't got the right bank behind you. Yeah, you haven't got the right bank behind you. It's 100%. Very obvious here. You know, you're dealing with some Mickey Mouse department, and you need to go up to the corporate level of banking. That's why we're going to introduce you to these right people. I mean, it's just very frustrating, because if you're making that sort of cash, what they don't like is also that you're spending as much as your cash comes in, you're reinvesting it in. So you're doing the classic entrepreneur, you're over trading. I mean, it is so obvious, it is more obvious than obvious that we're over trading here. You know, you make £100,000 and you've bought £100,000 worth of containers or more mezzanine floor, but you're also doing some incredible debt servicing. What you need to do when you go and speak to this new accountant of yours is you need to be working out your CFADs, which is what banks work out, which is called cash available for debt servicing. Some of them call it CAFDAS.
That's good. That's what I'd call it. Sounds cooler, doesn't it?
Some of them call it CFADs. And bank managers work out your CFADs and your CAFDAS, which is one more before EBITDA. So they're like looking, look, what cash has he got available for debt servicing? And you might be very lucky that someone just scoops up all your asset finance and then terms it out over 3 more years, because you might be paying this all off over 4 years or 3 years. Do you know the terms of your asset finance?
Yeah, there were 5 years.
Yeah. So imagine if you could, if you could get it over 7 years, that probably really help cash flow. And you could get lower interest rates. there definitely needs to be a proper finance broker go all over this, and my man Matt Stacey is the one that you need to speak to, because he's an ex-bank manager, and it'll just give you a better view. I mean, I would introduce you to my bank, but you're too small for them. But maybe one day you'll get there, and then I'll introduce you to them. Which really covers up challenge number 2, is finding a bank that will support me on my expansion journey. To be fair, I haven't reached out in a couple of years. Any contacts you have will be amazing. So we've done that. I'm just trying to think here.
If he couldn't find a bank, play devil's advocate, the VC thing, I know you don't like VCs.
You should say devil's avocado.
Devil's avocado, let's play that game. Why would you not go to a VC if the billionaire guy wants to invest? Could he water him down?
He will be in charge.
But could you say, right, I don't need 10 million quid for 49%. I need 2 million quid for 10%, and therefore you've got 10% saying what we do.
Because my little Jamesy Bert, let me give you some analysis here.
Okay.
VCs, even if they take a minority, which is what they do in most cases, by the way, they want to leave the owner with the majority and they take a minority. That is what they want to do. They will create a contract that effectively still gives them control over the business, even with a minority.
So even with like a 10, 15, 20% stake?
They would, yeah, because they would say, well, you've not hit your numbers. We've given you this money. And our contract then says...
What if he hits the numbers? Playing devil's avocado.
Well, they'll leave you alone.
Then that's fine, isn't it?
But they never... anyone that you meet that's had a venture capital, private equity relationship, and I've met a few, more than a few, things never go swimmingly as you plan in business. You have a good year, bad year, good quarter, bad quarter, and that will put you under significant pressure.
So is there then, again, playing a separate devil's avocado, is there a case where Dean says, do you know what, I have got a lovely lifestyle, but I do get to drop the kids off and all the rest of it, but if I don't do that for 5 years, if I know that I'm in it for 5 years for an exit, do you want to
have a horrible 5 years? I don't
know. Depends on how big.
I think people think about venture capital and private equity way too early. I do think they have a place, by the way.
Yeah.
Like if you are seriously growing and they don't just bring cash to the table, some of them really have a good, impressive block of contacts that can also accelerate
it. Yeah.
And they will get you a bigger exit value in 5 years' time because they'll just sell it to their mates that are bigger private equity
Wrap
people.
It up and sell
so
it
I definitely, absolutely think they have a place. But this, in my mind, is bankable. And if you're bankable at 3, 4, 5% interest rates, you should be doing it. Because let me explain what happens with a VC. In essence, they'll put some cash into the business for equity, or you take some cash off the table. Then they will put loan notes into the business that they will roll up the interest at 20%, 15%, that they will get back in 5 years' time. So when you sell the business, you go, well, we sold the business here for 10 million. I go, oh, we'd like all our interest back now. And so the VCs always come out with way more than the founders of the business. But did it work for Facebook? Yeah, absolutely it did.
So
Zuckerberg's not worried, is he?
Doesn't seem to be.
Jeff Bezos is not worried.
So there's a place for it, but you don't think the place for it is here.
And this is bankable, isn't it? He's making 360 grand, 220 grand, 450 grand profit 3 consecutive years. He just hasn't met the right bank manager that will get it.
Can I say why I didn't go with the VC and the ventures? Exactly what you said, James. So the EBITDA normally in this industry is around about 64% of revenue, but we're hitting 58% because we're obviously growing and stuff. And but they wanted to put in a clause saying they could replace me if it went under cash on cash return under 30%, and we're currently hitting it no problem, cash on cash return, but it's like you say, there's no guarantee. What happens if COVID was great for self-storage, but what happens if something else happens that is out of my control, where it goes below 30%. What happens if a big manufacturer's closed down and the population just dries up in a certain area or decreases, and that will hit me. And so that's the reason why I didn't personally do it, because I didn't like the fact that I could be replaced. And the pressure, there's one thing having to debt to service and having charge over your house, but then there's also another pressure that you've got to hit these numbers, and if you don't, then you're out the door of your own company. And that happened to one of my friends in self-storage as well. I won't publicly say the name of it or anything like that, but yeah, he had a falling out and he got replaced, and he was the founder of a self-storage facility. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't go down that route.
See,
that
you will learn, James, that I know most things in this
You
world.
do. You're like,
When do you want private equity, venture capital? When you want to take some money off the table into your personal bank account and de-risk your personal life, and sort of using it, in my opinion, as an exit plan, or if all other options have been absolutely exhausted and they're the only choice.
so you don't think it's not like a standard growth financing strategy? It's further down the line when you're looking.
Yeah, because
out.
the stronger the business is, the stronger the EBITDA, the more established it is, the more cards you hold when you do go into the conversations with these people.
So looking at the facts and figures here, you're going, that's bankable, and I know that a bank will take it. And
I think anyone that is staying on with a venture capitalist and a private equity firm, whatever we dress them up as, you will effectively become an employee of theirs, even if you've got a majority, because they will put a contract in place that absolutely protects their cash they're putting in. You know, he puts in 10 million quid for 49% of the business. Mr. Booty owns 51%. Oh, I'm in charge. Yeah, in charge if someone's putting £10 million in. There'll be such a watertight contract, like he just said, that can remove you from running your business. You might still own your 51%, but then they roll up all the interest, and then they have the power to decide when it gets sold. They will absolutely put that in the contract, that they have the triggering rights on that to get their 10 million quid back. So you might not be ready for sale. I'll go, well, sorry, our contract says so. And then they'll sell it, roll up all their interest, plus all their fees. They'll put management fees and roll it all up. And yeah, you'll come out of it in 5 years' time. But what you'll end up looking is like Tony Blair, you know, went in as a Prime Minister, young, fresh-faced bloke. And you remember when he came out? Looked like
Haggard.
Gandalf. and that's what happens. And I always like to remind people of a brilliant book called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis.
It's a good book.
And there is a whole chapter on this. It's obviously not a good book for you, JB, because you can't remember this chapter.
No, I do remember the chapter. He said that don't give away equity.
Yeah. So there's a whole chapter on ownership, but he talks about a friend of his that did become wealthy from a venture capitalist private equity thing. He said, but at the end of 5 years, he couldn't recognise him anymore.
Yeah.
And I think you need to remember that. In my opinion, this guy is very bankable, Mr. Booty. You are bankable. You're profitable. I just don't think you've met the right person. And I don't think entrepreneurs are very good at this, actually. This is a telling off to people listening to this show. Like, you've been with Yorkshire Bank that became Virgin Money for 12 years, but have you knocked on 10 other bank managers' doors and just seen if there is something else? This is not a marriage. You can go and flirt with other people here. It's allowed.
Weird analogy, but I like it.
Yeah.
And now that you've got that one pager that is obviously good enough for a VC to go, yeah, that's investable, then you've already done part of the hard work. Surely you could just shop that around the banks, or flesh it out to, like I say, to become a five-page.
We're going to introduce you to someone. What you need to do as well, Dean, you need to try and get a property under your belt as you get going, one of these that you operate from, because the banks will just like that. They'll see some security in the game. And I think these recovery loan schemes and these government-backed schemes, because you're a trade and you employ people, there should be some option for them to, become the security, which is what them recovery loan schemes are all about.
Well, talking of
You're 100%
investing,
right,
Dean, that was one of your killer questions, wasn't it? You wanted to ask about sort of funding options for a property.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're 100% right, because at the minute we just got sent over from the brokers in the self-storage industry. It was a leasehold. It was a 30-year leasehold, and they was actually selling at 7.5 times profits. And so it's anywhere between 7 and 10 times for a leasehold. But then when you go up to freehold, that exponentially goes up. And so for my exit, I need to start having freehold portfolios. And so there's a place in Beverley that we are looking at, and like I said, we couldn't come to an arrangement last time because the bank only valued it at 1.1 million because it was an independent valuation. It was only bricks and mortar, and they didn't take into consideration the attached lease. Now, don't get me wrong, you're never going to get the full amount, but they already offered £200,000. I think they had £800,000 left to pay in the rent for the lease term, and they offered £200,000 to get out of it. That was their initial offering, so I'm sure that you could increase that, but the banks wouldn't take that into consideration whatever. Because it wasn't actually, it was leased, but it was vacant.
I think your challenge number 3, my next hire. You need to have a numbers person around you because that will give banks massive confidence. But let's employ an accountant that's also going to help you run the business. They're like accountant/MD. Because you're going to be the person finding the deals and doing all this stuff. And as you're starting doing 600 grand's worth of lease finance and £500,000 here and £1 million here, it'll just keep on going. And I think if you can employ an accountant, that will really, really help you.
Yeah, I agree. Cheers. Thank you. James, how do you, because my wife, is one of the other questions I had for you. So she made me promise 2 years ago for no more personal guarantees. Please, Dean, no more personal guarantees. When's enough? We can just, settle, we're okay. And next thing I know, Claire, just come with me to see this solicitor. I just got something for you to sign, and it's another personal guarantee. So I got some flowers. I took her away on holiday, and it just carries on and carries on. And a year later, not only have we got like 3 or 4 more personal guarantees, we've got a charge over the house, and she is very supportive, and she's okay with it now. But I do question whether I don't know. It's just like the risk for me is just normal, but she doesn't like the risk. Does that ever come up with you and your family? And does your wife ever question you, like, when's enough?
She don't know. That's the honest answer. I mean, I try and talk to her about stuff like this. My personal guarantees will absolutely make yours look like a chocolate teapot. I absolutely guarantee you of that. Mine are in the tens of millions now. I don't have a problem with personal guarantees because I run a business where, like yours, I have a little bit of money from a lot of people a lot of the time. And at some point in the next 5 years, you will de-risk by having what we call in entrepreneurship a liquidity day. That what I would hope is that you sell to a private equity firm, a venture capitalist firm, to create a wealth day or a liquidity day for you, not a day that just allows the business to grow. Am I making sense there?
Yeah, you are. That's what the billionaire offered me. He offered me £1 million for me to take home, and that was a big thing for me because then I could actually I could pay my mortgage off, and so that was a big thing.
Don't pay your mortgage off. That's the cheapest money that you're ever going to get. I'm working on selling some stuff right now. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it'll be a serious payday. I don't pay my mortgage off. That'd be, everyone thinks I'm bloody man. Well, why would I pay? I'm at 2.19% fixed for 10 years because I've done it before this. It's criminal to pay that debt off, in my opinion. I'd much rather put the money in a bond that's making 8% to pay the mortgage off, and then if something did happen to me, anyway. So that's I think you need to.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So in terms of my personal relationship, I don't tell my wife because she doesn't ask. If she asked, I would tell her. She knows that I borrow millions and millions of pounds, but she also, I think, trusts in my ability to always be okay. I've got multiple revenue streams, so I'm very comfortable. I would borrow more. I would borrow another £10 million in a heartbeat to put out to work because I know what I'm doing with it. Would I borrow to live? Abso-bloody-lutely not. Would I borrow money to buy some sofas or go on holiday? Abso-bloody-lutely not. But if I can borrow at 5% and make 20%, I'm all in, baby. I'm all in. And do you know what? Here's something that you might want to tell your wife. Once you've signed up to so many personal guarantees that it goes over £100,000 and you're into the tens of millions, you just get over it, don't you? It's like running 5K. Once you've done 5K and you go to 6K, you go, oh, should I go to 7K then to 8K? I don't know. Once you can lift 15 kilograms and you go, oh, should we give 20 kilograms to go? And you just, you end up looking like Mr. He-Man in no time. So I'm very comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. But I am absolutely comfortable with it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Oh, I'm too comfortable with risk. I used to have a betting shop, so yeah, I'm very, very comfortable with risk. And
to assure your wife, you say, look, in 5 years we're going to have a liquidity day, we're going to have a wealth creation day, because that is what will end up happening to you. I'm going to keep borrowing, I'm going to keep building, but in 5 years I'm going to sell half the business to someone. They're going to give me a load of money. I'll stay as a shareholder on the board, or I'm going to sell 60%, stay on at 40%. They're going to put a load of money in and grow it. Then we'll get rid of all of our personal guarantees. We'll have a load of money in the bank. And that's absolutely what you should be doing. You should be building a business to sell, even if you have no intention of selling it, because that discipline will make you build something so much better. What say you?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, definitely. And just to paint the picture, we are actually cash flowing at the minute, around about £30,000 a month, but £15,000 of that is going to my dad because he owns 25% of the shares, so we're buying him out on that. And straight away, as soon as I get cash flowing again, James, I'll look for another site. And so the new site in Scotland, I'm going to need that £15,000 a month now for the new site.
Do you know what you are?
Stupid.
No, you're an entrepreneur. I mean, what you just described there in that little monologue is a hardcore entrepreneur. That's exactly how I think. I promise you, my lifestyle now is no different really to 5 years ago. So I'm going to have this liquidity wealth day. Most people will be like thinking holidays, bigger house, mortgage. I'm thinking, what can I invest in? Like, how can I turn this into more? Can't help it, it's cancer. Now, I do want things to be a little bit easier. I've been playing it close to the wind for about 22 years now.
You make me feel better, James.
But you said on this subject, where we were having a delicious local curry and chips one lunchtime, you said, I'm just going to be my own bank. All it's going to give me the ability to do is just to fund stuff easier with my own cash. That's all. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
It's not just the answer your wife wants, Dean, but
no, I mean,
dress that answer up slightly for
Dean,
her.
After talking to you now, I think she just needs to understand this is who you are. But you're not making stupid risks. You're not putting it into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, are you? Flipping hell, you're doing self-storage. I mean, you're about as boring as you can get, which is fantastic. Does she? I mean, if the world seriously goes wrong and no one needs to store anything, I think we've all got to worry seriously.
Yeah.
You are.
Exactly.
I think you're in the bread and milk industry. People are always going to want bread and milk, and people are always going to want to store their shit.
Yeah, and there's some fundamentals for storage to make a good self-storage facility that you can protect for longevity, and we've done that in all our sites. So even when competition does come, we're very, very insulated as well, because you do have a moat around your business, because container sites are a little bit harder. Yes, they're easy to set up, but you're going to have more competition because they're easy to finance, they're easy to set up. Where a big indoor facility, say like Willoughby in Hull, it's cost us £1.5 million to set up, and it's that I see the harder it is for me, the better it is, because then it's harder for other people to come in, and it's like a moat for me.
When you do want to sell some of your stuff, you need to get back in contact me, because I know some great people that will get you a lot of cash off the table. Because you don't want to go to one bloody VC person like that. You need to be shopping your business around to like 10 or 12 people to get maximum value for your deal. You just don't want to be going to one person. And I'm telling you now, Dean, I've done 350-ish episodes of this podcast. You're one of the most entrepreneurial people we've had on here. Your wife should be very proud of you. I hope she listens to this, because what you've done is against all the odds. And one day, and I don't think it'll be very far away, she will never have to worry again about money. I mean, you're doing these sort of profits. Most people would dream of turning 360k, 220k and 450k. You're not turning it, you're making from it. You've got horrific loans, but those loans will come to an end. Those mezzanine floors will not need to be replaced. It's not like a van. This will just go over to a tipping point where it's generating such positive cash flows. People are going to be, fighting over to buy you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, James. Thank you very much. That's awesome to hear.
You should be really proud of yourself. It's a really, servicing's, 10, 15, 20,000 pounds. What is your loan servicing a month at the moment?
£31,000.
£31,000. And this is all like mezzanine floors and stuff like that, is it?
Yeah, mezzanine floor. We've got units. So we're building for the future. We're one of the most technologically advanced self-storage companies around. So we've got no key technology, which means that it's all app based. So you get into your unit via an app. There's the highest security. We've got monitored CCTV.
But forgetting the technology stuff, because that does depreciate and that always needs updating. But the 31, is it like metal that you're paying off?
Yeah, it's all metal for the frame of the doors and to partitions to make the units 75 square foot, 50 square foot.
So when the lease comes to an end, the stuff still has life in it, doesn't it? You're not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One day, mate, that all will end, and you'll be like, wow. And
fingers crossed.
Well, it's not fingers crossed. Why are you saying fingers crossed? That's a stupid thing to say, because it's not fingers crossed, is it? You're paying the 31 grand every single bloody month. The mezzanine floor is going to be paid for. The metal door frame is going to be paid for, and you're going to still be getting rent, aren't you?
Yeah, 100% right. Yeah,
it's not a van that, at the end of 5 years, it's been hammered. This is a metal floor. It will change for you. Right, we've got a dash because we've got so many. But we got any questions, JB, that you would like to ask? I mean, JB's thinking about self-storage. I can see it in his eyes.
I'm getting rid of the podcast agency. I'm going to go straight to self-storage, and Dean's going to be my mentor. Dean's going to become my Dan Bradbury. Just final thing. Where can people find out more information? Because you sound like you're making lots of cool content and stuff. Where should we go, and where can we discover your YouTube and sign up to your newsletter and all that kind of good stuff? Because I think there's a bit of a self-storage revolution coming to the UK. Because I know a lot of Cody Sanchez and those sorts of people are looking at it.
I've even considered it. And I do it in a little way, but for commercial, I don't do it as stuff like this. But I might even do it myself. I thought about it.
Happy to help you, James.
I can hear that in your, Well, have you got any questions you'd like to ask us before we ever go?
Just one. So I've got a fairly...
Whoa. I think we've got a killer jingle.
Hang on a second, Dean. If you've listened recently, you know that you can't just jump in with a question like that.
I listened this morning.
Here we go. So, Dean, you're about to take your 5th or 6th unit on, 10 by the end of the year. This killer question could be the thing that sets the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons. What is your question for James Sinclair?
So China, I would love to go out to China. I'm going to take mum, my dad and my family out to China to go and have a look around. A little bit of a holiday, but also to look, see if I can bring in our own designed containers that aren't just containers, that'll make us look a little bit different from the competition. And so I was wondering if you could put me in touch with any agent. But I want to modify them. So our site, beverly24.co.uk, we've actually won the outdoor container site of the year.
God, that fell out so easy, didn't it? Someone's done some media training.
Jeff Bezos in early like Amazon conversations, he would always only say, we sell that on Amazon.com, and I started Amazon.com. Everything he would say was Amazon.com. It was
So our Beverly site is an outdoor site, which we are one of the best container sites in the UK. We actually won it in 2012, but it's modified units, and so they aren't just containers. They're insulated, the ply line. They've got lights.
Fine. Yeah, but I probably can help you with that. But my strong piece of advice is do not take your family to China if you want to do serious work like that. I go to China all the time. I'm going again in a few months on 15th April. It's some of the hardest work that I do as an entrepreneur and business owner. If I took my wife and my family and my nan and my granddad and all the in-laws, it would become near enough impossible. It's not like going to Hong Kong. That's what I think people...
Separate the two.
That's what I thought it was, I thought it'd be sightseeing for them.
Mate, it's so big. Every day I'm like doing a commute from London to Spain. That's what it feels like just to
And
get
you're still just in one region that just does shipping containers.
It is really not the place to take your family. If you
come with your family after you come back from China, because you'll need the respite.
Meet them in Bali, meet them in Hong Kong. But you're going to be doing some serious work there. And I think you should be doing that, by the way. I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, because when just really quick, because I know time's getting on. When we looked at pricing up for a new container site, we was getting quotes of 250,000, and there was one place that only has one middleman apparently, and they was just under half a price of what we was getting quoted everywhere else, and so they came in 125 grand, say, and I was like, blooming heck, that is a massive saving. And so if I can cut out them, because obviously they're making profit, it's worth it if I'm looking at opening more outdoor sites.
Yeah, I mean, obviously China and Turkey, they're good countries for manufacturing stuff. But yeah, you do have to get on the plane and go and see people. But you want to be on your own. You want to get an agent that shows you around. You'll be doing long days, going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, then getting up, travelling to a completely different region. You want to see 10 different factories. You absolutely do not want to combine that with a holiday. No ways.
Yeah. Yeah, fair point.
This podcast is brought to you by the Chinese Tourist Board.
Right, any other questions before we say toodaloo, Pip?
No, I just really appreciate all your content. I've watched everything, I've listened to everything, and I think it's amazing. And what you're doing out there to help other people is brilliant. So thank you very much. And you two are just absolutely hilarious together. I think it's brilliant.
Oh, there you go. Bert the Burke stays.
It was touch and go at the start of the show. He's turned around at the end. No, I've said very little in this episode. There's a key to success there.
Can I just ask as well, have you been to one of my events? I feel like I've seen you before, Dean. Have we met?
No, I did bug you loads in your DMs, but I haven't been to an event. Believe it or not, I am an introvert, and events just scare me to death. I don't know why. I do go to a lot of events, but yeah, I haven't been to one of yours. And I nearly went last year to the 2-day one, but I haven't actually been. I was nearly going to go to one of your dinners as well. But
I really hope you do.
Yeah, go to a dinner.
I've got Nige in the background. Call this guy. Don't let him out. I want to meet him.
Sounded more sinister than it needed to. Nasty. This is why I call him Nasty Nige in the background.
His middle name is Gonorrhea. So there we go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dean, for being on the podcast. We wish you well. Up to great stuff. And maybe we'll cycle. We'll cycle back to you.
That was one of my favourite conversations.
6 to 12 months to see you getting on.
I just love people like him that take, because he's. Yeah, I can see why his wife is worried. Another £600,000 here on metal floors. I mean, that is how the conversation
goes. Like you and
goes.
Nats don't talk about it at all. She's got no.
I want to. I try, but she just don't. I think she trusts me.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. She just never bothered.
Just genuine disinterest. Yeah, but you've always been doing it. You've got, haven't you?
Yeah, I suppose. I was already doing it before she came along. No, well, we met at school, but I had like 10 years on my own. Discovering other people. I mean, discovering life. and then 28, she came back into my life.
Oh, okay.
But I bought this place. I bought this place and didn't tell her.
Right.
And then a couple of weeks later, I said, "Oh yeah."
So if I bought a different,
wasn't even bothered because it's just happening too much.
Yeah.
Like we bought 10 coffee shops one day. Then 2 months later, we bought.
Did you not go home not excited? But
she has no idea what, because it's just. It's become.
So when you go home in the evening, like, what do you have a chat about? Like, hey, how was your day? Yeah, cool. She's done like 17 PT things and is like the fittest woman on the planet. And she's like, how was your day? Yeah, fine. I bought 10 coffee shops.
She's just not. She's sort of interested, but it's
I suppose
so
now you're
much.
so buff these days. There's not a lot of talking. You walk through the door and that's it.
There's just so much goes on that. I mean, I do like. She's not. It's weird, isn't it? Because I do.
It's probably exactly what you need, though.
Argument about people having, he's just gone and bought a new car. And, I mean, I would just buy a car and I would just turn up with it. And I wouldn't say, I've bought this. It's just weird. It's just different, and that, I suppose, in my life. It's weird.
Maybe that's why it works, though.
Yeah, I mean, she has no idea what I do day to day. I really don't think so.
Are you bothered that she's not bothered?
She don't want to talk about EBITDAs and cash flows and...
No, but like, there's 10 coffee shops. Oh, shall we go to, I've got a new gaff in Bromley. Shall we go for, not you go for a scenic day out in Bromley?
Yeah, but she comes to the Rossi Parlour. she comes to the Rossi Parlour every now and then. But she knows there's Marsh Farm, there's too much, JB.
She knows there's Marsh Farm.
She knows I think she knows we're building a lemur enclosure. But I mean, I'm building
But a dinosaur park, surely, because Harvey loves dinosaurs, doesn't he?
Yeah, she knows about that. But I'm building 2 nurseries at the moment. We're actually constructing one. She don't know about that. I mean, I barely know about all that's going on at the moment either.
Fair enough. Well, there you go. Well, hope you guys listening have enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you have, feel free to like, subscribe, and thumbs ups and stuff on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure, I know it's a faff, right? I know like leaving feedback is a faff, but actually it's what the algorithm actually cares about. How long you guys listen to it and whether you like it or not. So do us a favour. Click onto your app, click into the main show page, scroll all the way to the bottom. Let's do it together now. Go on, do it. That's it. No, keep scrolling. No, a bit more. There you go, you got it. And you see those stars that are empty at the moment? Click the 5th one. There you go. And now leave some feedback as well. And start it with, this show is brilliant because, insert whatever you like there. Okay, done. Fantastic. Thanks for being here.
Before we go, Jamie, one of my mentors is the person that I trust most in my life, actually. He's probably my only mentor. No.
Thank you.
His name's Andrew. I actually spoke from at a conference up there. He's an amazing man. And
Who's that? I've never heard you talk about a mentor type figure.
Well, I might talk about it in the next episode. But one of his little keynote phrases is good things happen to good people. And when you're doing
I like that.
When you're doing that little monologue, I was looking at you thinking, you're a good person, JB. And the good thing that's happened
because I'm trying to put your podcast. Oh, here we go. He's spinning it, guys. He's spinning it.
You're a good person. You got on this co-hosting this top 15 entrepreneurship podcast overnight.
Yeah, clearly, great things happen to great people.
No, good things happen to good people. That's the phrase.
Great things happen to great people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we go now?
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.